Hello everyone, my name is Hester Baileveld. I am the Medical Aid Insurance Advisor for Wilkinson Insurance Brokers. We've reached the tax year for 2021 and I have been wanting to share a video with you with regards to how medical tax credits are calculated. I actually did this presentation previously, but I got caught out with it being longer than 15 minutes, which is the maximum amount that YouTube will allow me. So I've had to redo it. As I dug deeper into this, I started to think of a lot of clients that would actually benefit specifically from the additional medical tax credits because they are over 65 or they have a disabled person that they're looking after and paying for their expenses and medical aid. And then lastly, just some of my clients have huge medical expenses which in any one given year could actually be reimbursed to some extent, even if you're not over 65. So the second one would be of particular value to some individuals. All right, so this is going to be pretty short and I will then go on to the more comprehensive additional medical tax credits. Right, so let's get started. Okay, so the topics for this presentation are the history of tax credits, the difference between a reduction and a rebate, and then just how to do an MTC calculation. You'll see it's very simple. On the next video, we'll do what expenses qualify, the differences between an employer versus an individual when you are claiming back from the taxman, and then a few examples of AMTC depending on which way you're approaching your additional medical tax credits. So in terms of the history, before the 1st of March 2012, tax relief used to be done via deduction. And then after March 2012, actually via a rebate. So for those of you who are over 65 and those of you who have members with a disability, you will actually end up benefiting more because your relative expenses are higher. So deduction versus rebate, how you do a tax calculation for those of you who maybe are young and haven't done it yet. So your income is, let me just put a little spot there, is less your deductions, which used to be also how medical tax credits were taken off, plus any capital gains that you might have during that year will give you your taxable income. Then if you look at the rest of the tax calculation, your taxable income would be less your rebates. Now your rebate would be like a primary or secondary rebate plus any MTC. And this would reduce the amount that you actually owe to the taxman. So anything that reduces what is owed to the taxman can only be a good thing. Right, so anybody who pays a premium towards medical aid is allowed to deduct medical tax credits at the end of the year. How much you can claim would depend on how many dependents you have on your medical aid, and you would simply use the table from SARS. I'll show that to you in the next slide. And just remember, dependent is anyone who is financially dependent on you. So it would be your spouse, your children, biological children, foster children. It could be your parents or your parents-in-law who are medically dependent or financially dependent on you, although they may even be on a different scheme to what you're on. That doesn't really matter. All right, so this is the table that would be shown every year. So it's gone right up to 2022, which is great. So if it was an individual person in 2021, you would be able to claim 319 Rand per month. If it's you and another dependent, they don't stipulate whether that dependent is an adult or a child, but that would just double to 638. If you had any more dependents on your medical aid, or you were paying for more dependents who were financially dependent on you, the next individual after the first two would only qualify for 215. They do allow something called an apportionment. So in the event that you and your brother, for example, are both paying, let's say 50-50 towards your parents' medical aid, as long as you can show the amount that you are paying, and obviously your parents are need to be financially dependent on you, they will allow an apportionment amount to be taken. So the amount that you're putting towards that individual. So let's have a look at a calculation. Armand, who's age 45, contributes 5,000 Rand per month to his medical aid. Contributions are for Armand, his wife, and 2 children. So his total contributions for the year amount to 60,000 Rand per annum. So the calculation is really simple. You take your taxpayer and 1 dependent, okay, from that table. Remember, 2 members will give 638, plus 2 children of 215 each would be 430, giving you a total monthly credit of 1,068. So that's a monthly amount. Remember, if you're doing your tax credits at the end of the year, that would amount to 12,816 that you would be able to deduct off the amount that you owe to the receiver of revenue. And this is the maximum MTC rebate for the year of assessment. So really, really simple. You just need to know how many people you are contributing medical aid towards. They don't stipulate an amount, doesn't make any difference. Okay, but it's the number of people and number of dependents that you are paying for that is the key here. If you are paying for your own medical aid and the premiums are coming from your account, you may do the calculations at the time of assessment, which is February or whenever you do your assessment. If your employer is paying premiums on your behalf, it depends. So if the employer is required to take a qualifying portion of MTC into, so let's say I work for company ABC and they are paying the whole of the premium and they're deducting an amount, maybe 50%, maybe the full amount of premiums. They are required to take off a qualifying portion of the medical tax credits every month, and they take that into account. So you pay tax proportionally over the year. If the employer, and you're paying your own medical aid through your own account, you can ask your employer to take off the tax during the year, but they're not obliged to do it. So it just depends if you want to wait until the end of year to get your tax relief. And that's it for the medical tax credits. Super, super easy. Anyone can do it while you're doing your tax calculations. There's nothing really of any great difficulty there. Just remember that if you are over 65 or you have disabled members or you have high medical expenses, I really suggest that you look at the next presentation of additional medical tax credits, because this is where you can particularly benefit over and above the normal MTC. All right, everyone, so thanks for listening. Appreciate it, and let's go on to the next presentation.